So today I'm going to talk to you about what to teach your child, and this video is going to focus on what to teach in the sense of what subjects to do, how to keep them on track. So I want to start by doing sort of a zoom out and looking at the big picture of your child's education, and then we'll start to drill down in other videos. But zooming out, looking at the big picture, your goal is to raise an adult, right? This is the goal. And so I want you to think what you need, and you can think about your areas of the country specifically. You can think of in terms of your family's values, your heritage, just generally, whatever you think, what you think your child needs to be successful, happy, fulfilled, productive, a good adult, whatever that means to you for your child. And I'm actually going to take a second and pause this video for you for maybe 30 seconds and let you jot down a few ideas, just like 2 or 3 things, of what you think your child truly needs. Now, before your brain starts racing and thinking of future careers that we don't know about because of technology and whatnot, don't even go there. Just think bare minimum, and you can go from really high level stuff like my child needs to know how to be honest, or a really popular one nowadays is grit. My child needs the ability to persevere and not quit no matter what the challenges are. So pausing right now, take 30 seconds, jot down like 3 things that you think your child needs. Go. Okay, so I hope that exercise was not too unpleasant for you. I'll just share something from my family. One thing that I really hope that my children will acquire through homeschooling is the ability to overcome emotional disappointments. I see child and teen suicide rates on the rise, and I think especially in our culture where it's so easy to, anytime you feel disappointed or even bored, you just look at a smartphone or distract yourself with a show. One thing I really want to instill in my kids is the ability to look within themselves and think about why they're feeling what they're feeling, and then be able to think of ways to overcome that. So that's something I try to teach my kids, but I think that's something that schools are not doing well. And so I love homeschooling because it enables me to teach them all these kinds of skills that are really more important than anything that they're going to learn in school. So I just want to pause and give you a big idea here, and that is homeschooling gives you the freedom and the authority to liberate your child from busy work and let them get on with learning the things they really need to know. And I just want to encourage you as a homeschooling parent, do not squander this opportunity. So if they're in school, they're in an environment where they're doing a lot of busy work, a lot of work to just fill time and make sure, so their teacher can make sure that they're learning everything that they need to know. But when you homeschool and you're the teacher for all the subjects and you just have your few children, not a class of 35, you have a lot more freedom and time where you can get the subjects done academically, but you can also say, well, I'm not going to give them busy work. When they know it, they know it. And then we've got time to let them learn what they really need in life. The next thing I want to address is the idea of keeping your child on track. And I give those air quotes because a lot of people mean different things when they talk about keeping their child on track. But it's something I hear a lot from new homeschooling parents, that they're very keen on keeping their child on track. And that can mean really different things to different people. It could mean that you're planning on putting your child back in public school and you just want to make sure that they are right literally on track with what the school has already done. In which case, you're talking about literally being on track with whatever your local school is doing. For some people, when they talk about keeping on track, they mean that they want their kids to be able to test well on standardized tests so that they can compare how their kids are doing versus their peers. I want to stop and say a word here about standardized tests. I know it's really common for people to bash standardized tests, and I'm not really about that, but I want you to consider that standardized tests are effective at really looking at sort of a big picture of how an entire school system is doing. They're there so that we can say, oh, this school is achieving well, or this grade is achieving well. But in terms of looking at an actual student's progress, I don't think it's realistic to think that every child's development is just going to go in sort of this linearly upward progress where each year they get 50% better in math and 50% better in reading, and every year it's like stair steps, they're getting better and better. It's just not realistic. I want to tell you a story about my friend. She told me that when she was going through high school, and my friend is super brilliant, like one of those people that you meet and she's super smart, but she said when she was in high school, she felt like such a dunce at math. She just could not get it. It was like she would study and try, and they would explain it, and she just was not getting it. And a few years after she graduated, those same concepts that she was trying to learn when she was in high school suddenly just clicked in her brain. And she said she read something later that math especially is developmental. And I've noticed this with my own kids, that sometimes I'll try to teach them something, and it is like just banging my head against a brick wall. No joke. And then if I try to teach the same thing like 6 months later, suddenly they're like, oh, that's easy. That's obvious. Oh my goodness, the trials. But it's developmental. I think a lot of subjects are like that. And here is part of the beauty of homeschooling, is that rather than focusing on keeping on track, you can get off track. And it's okay. There's nobody breathing down your neck telling you your child is a failure. There's no one saying, well, she's in the bottom quartile for reading comprehension. You can give your child that space to develop at their own pace and without the pressure of competition. In that way, homeschooling is a rare and beautiful environment that is just like a garden where children can just be nurtured and they can just grow at their own pace, because it's really realistic, right? That your child is going to be awesome at some things. I've seen so many kids who are brilliant academically, but their social skills are a little bit still in development. And then I've seen the opposite, kids that are so polite and so outgoing and friendly and just make friends with ease, but they have trouble focusing on academic work. And somehow it kind of gets worked out over time. They're all okay. But homeschooling is going to let you just give them that space to grow on their own without peer pressure and without pressure from the teachers. Now, I'm not saying here that academics aren't important and if your child is behind that you shouldn't try to shore that up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that with homeschooling, because you're not part of the system, it gives you the chance to look at your own child, look at what they're good at, look at what they need to work on, whether that's academic or whether that's a character trait that maybe they deal a lot with impatience and getting angry. And it allows you to say, okay, my goal here is to raise a functioning adult. And if my child just goes through school and nobody is addressing this anger issue, nobody is addressing the fact that they can't follow instructions because they're a little bit rebellious, they're going to have problems later on in life. So it's not just about academics. And what I want you to walk away with is the understanding that when you as the parent know your child and love your child, you can decide what's really important and how to best equip them for adulthood. And then you can create your own track. And we're going to get to what subjects to teach and academics and stuff like that. But this is your big picture idea about what you're teaching your child and how to think about, not just this year in third grade, but long term, what you have the opportunity to do with homeschooling. And I want to end by telling you a story of another friend of mine who homeschooled her boys, and she had one son who was so smart in some ways and then not really doing well in school. And he was so gifted artistically. He could sing, he was into film, and she just nurtured and nurtured him, but he was always behind, always behind. And she struggled with this because he would be behind in math, and she would say, oh my gosh, is he going to be better off in school? Should I stop homeschooling? She went back and forth, but she ended up saying, I don't think he's going to do better in the system where, right now he's getting almost one-on-one help and I can really respond to his needs. She pushed through and she kept homeschooling all the way through high school, and toward the end of his high school years, everything started to click into place and he started to really say, oh, I'm getting this. But it was years of his parents patiently and faithfully walking through with him when he was behind academically. And then it ended up that he went to college. His parents kind of thought, well, maybe college isn't the place for him. He got into a college and he ended up getting into the honors program at the college, and his parents are just still kind of in shock that this is really happening. But imagine if he had been in school. Imagine if he had been there for his teachers to say, well, you're stupid at math, or you're behind, and his parents would get stressed and say, we've got to catch you up, da 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 da. Imagine what would have happened. He could have developed a complex in his brain that he just wasn't smart, that college wasn't for him, that he just shouldn't even try. Who knows what could have happened, or what negative ideas could have been planted in his brain by being in a system where he's comparing his own rate of growth to others. So that's why I feel like keeping on track is a little bit overrated sometimes in the way that some people think of it. However you think of it, just, decide for yourself, what are the values to you of staying on some sort of track that's related to their academic peers? And then what are the beautiful things about homeschooling that allow you to get off the track?